I'm not sure the exact number of people that died that day, but I know a lot of people died, so like if there was like families, probably would have been more kids if that didn't happen. And it's just, it amazes me, like I said a million times already, but it just hits me by shock.
I mean, I think I started realizing that 9/11 was a thing around elementary school, but started understanding it around middle school.
During the moment of silences, especially when when you're so young, a lot of people kind of just like do it because they're told to, not necessarily because they understand what they're doing it for, or because they have like sympathetic connections to what happened.
I've never seen the Twin Towers like actually there because I wasn't born then. It's just like a weird feeling inside to think about that something that massive happened right before I was born, like a year before.
I'm at the 9/11 Memorial Museum, and I'm joined by Cheyenne Hyde. Cheyenne, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Yeah, of course.
Can we go take a look around inside?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
9/11 is shorthand for Tuesday, September 11, 2001, when 19 hijackers affiliated with Al-Qaeda decided to hijack 4 commercial airline flights and use them as weapons against highly symbolic landmarks of American life. It just starts off like a normal day because it's the first day of school, it's the mayoral primaries, and about 2 billion people witness it live because you have internet, you have radio, and then TV who are now showing their viewers what's happening here.
2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
So the first attack began at 8:46 a.m. when hijacked Flight 11 struck the north face of the North Tower. At 9:03 a.m., hijacked Flight 175 struck the south face of the South Tower. At 9:37 a.m., hijacked Flight 77 struck the outer ring of the Pentagon, which is the headquarters for the U.S. military. And then at 10:03 a.m., hijacked Flight United 93 was deliberately crashed into a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. Now that flight is kind of different because that flight was coming out of Newark, New Jersey, a very congested airport. They happened to be delayed about 45 minutes. Finally, when they're in the air, they realize that something is wrong. And then they realize that they were being hijacked. So from the airphones that are still on the planes in 2001, they call their loved ones and the authorities who are on ground, and they tell them what's happening, their situation on board. And as a result, their loved ones and the authorities are telling them what's happening here in New York City and also in Arlington, Virginia at the Pentagon. So those 40 brave men and women, they vote to stage a counterattack. They boil water in the back of the kitchenette area of the plane, and they use a food car as a battering ram to try to gain access into the cockpit. Now, once the 4 hijackers realized that they probably would not be making it to the intended target, which we now know was the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where Congress was in full session that morning, they decided to crash that plane into an empty field.
So the other airplanes that were in the air were starting to hear about this, right?
Yes.
And for 1 Alpha Charlie, there's some sort of a problem going on out there on the East Coast that we need to know about?
Yeah, I'll keep you advised on that in a second. Amtrak 797, Cleveland.
Yep, but from hijacked Flight 11, we had a flight attendant named Betty Ong who made a phone call during the hijacking to American Airline reservation agents in North Carolina, and 23 minutes she remains calm and professional as she's reporting about the situation on board the plane and also the identities of the 5 hijackers. And after that first phone call, really the FAA decided to ground all flights nationwide.
So after they grounded all the planes, what happened to all the people?
You have people who are stranded, really, people who can't get back from their vacations, really have no idea what's going on because for some of them, they were stuck on these planes for a number of hours, not maybe being able to get off, go find some hotel, but it wasn't until maybe a few hours later that they heard the news of what had just happened in New York City, and they probably now had an understanding of what their situation would be like.
So are there still effects from 9/11 being felt today?
Of course, we have the Transportation Security Administration, TSA. You have to be completely x-rayed, you have to be patted down. With carry-ons, you can't have huge amounts of liquid, you can't have weapons on board.
September 11th, 2021 marks 20 years since our country was attacked by planes in New York City and across our country. I still remember where I was 20 years ago. I was on the campus of South Carolina State University in math class when I was informed that an airplane had just flown into the World Trade Center. Many of us were just outraged and scared in that moment, not knowing, was this the beginning of multiple attacks? What to expect, where to go, and we're very, very far away from our families and safety and security as we knew it. This September 11th date marks 20 years from this attack, and we're here today to observe a moment of silence to remember those who lost their lives and those who served our country on this tragic date. At this time, let's please pause for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Let us never forget our past and always prepare for our futures. Remember, we are here to prepare you scholars to succeed in competitive colleges and empower you to use public policy to create that more just, free, and equal world. Si se puede.